All right. Hello, everyone. Good morning and welcome into our training today. My name is Lucas Da Silva, your training specialist with Lone Wolf. And today we are super excited to go through a wonderful session regarding Cloud CMA for you guys today, specifically for our agents here at the Georgia MLS. Now, can't say I'll be leading this training all by myself, as I do have some great support team on the back end to help answer any questions you guys have. So as we go into our session, just note that you can always engage with us simply by pulling up your control panel and simply just clicking on that question box that you see there on the right side. Through there, you should be able to enter in any questions, comments, or feedback at any time. And at that point as well, not only will I be able to answer that in session, but in case, just because of the amount of folks who have joined in on this session today, in case we have a lot of questions come in, we do have our wonderful team here available to support us with answering those questions. So with that said, I'm super excited to dive into this. Note as well that this session is recorded. So if you are looking to get a copy of this session after it's concluded, it's going to be sent to your email that's registered to this event, sent to you within about 48 hours once the session has ended. So just know that you'll get access to that recording too as soon as this session is done. Just give it about a day or two for that to be received. But with that, I'm very excited to go into the topics of our training today. First, starting off with, as you'll see here on our list, how to access Cloud CMA. Also briefly go into, what is it if you haven't utilized it before, as well as, what are some best practices or why you would want to take advantage of it when leveraging up your listing presentations. But most importantly, we want to definitely show you how you can access Cloud CMA right from within the Georgia MLS member benefits page. At that point, we'll arrive on the Cloud CMA homepage as well. So at that point, we'll actually get ourselves familiarized with what we're looking at, knowing where all the buttons are, knowing how we can get access to creating all of these different reports. And then at that point as well, we'll go in and show you how to create a CMA report from scratch. It only takes a 4-step process to get this complete. And I would actually even say it's actually 3 because your last step is just to publish and share. So we'll definitely dive in and show you how easy those 3 steps are, but even actually taking it to the next level and actually looking at what we've created. So with the CMA reports, whenever you're creating one, you're technically creating 3. So you have a live report that automatically gets created, you have a PDF report that gets created, and you even have a slideshow view that you can share as part of your presentation as well, whichever suits your presentation needs. So we'll show you all the different formats in which they're presented, and as well, I'll also dive into the comps report as well. So that way you'll be able to kind of get the full picture as to, what the CMA report looks like when it's all done. Now, I can't be your trainer without talking about account settings. So we'll dive briefly into showing you some best practices when it comes to the account settings, just so that way you're aware as to what you'll definitely want to optimize within your CMA reports and how you can do that by updating your account settings on your end. And lastly, since we only have an hour training to cover Cloud CMA, know that there's so much that you can do with this product. So we'll definitely point to you in the right direction of where you can access not only additional support resources, but also additional training resources as well. Now, before we go ahead and dive right into our training, I do want to welcome in Christina Curry. She is from Georgia MLS as well, and she'll be available here to support answering any of the internal Georgia MLS questions that come in. So, Christina, I just saw you joined in. Welcome. Now, with that said, as Christina is kind of getting herself set up here, let's go ahead and just start into our first topic, which is just briefly discussing with you how you can access Cloud CMA through Georgia MLS's member page. It's fairly simple. All you need to do is go ahead and, as you'll see here from the top, through your quick access page, you'll see that you'll have the option for Cloud CMA right available front and center for you. Should take you right to your launch pad where you can dive in and create your CMA report. Additionally, as you're seeing our larger mouse buddy up here at the top, if you're looking to access it through your Tools tab, that is also available for you through there as well. And both will do the same. It will get you access to going into Cloud CMA directly. Now, just being sure that folks can hear me, because I do have a comment that just came in saying, should I be hearing something? If you are able to hear us, feel free to let us know. If you are having any audio issues, it's best practices and recommended to exit the session and jump back on. I believe our support team is answering some questions that come in. So if you definitely can't hear us, I guess that's hard to point that out, right? But if you can hear us, definitely let us know so that way we're just aware of how we can keep moving in the session. All right, excellent. It looks like we do have someone saying here that they can hear us. So in this case, our team will definitely respond back to anyone who can't hear us. That way you'll be sure to be able to exit, jump back on in case you have any audio issues. Thank you, folks. I appreciate your response. So again, just as a recap, you can access Cloud CMA through two directions from your MLS member page. As you saw, you can access it directly from your quick access page. And as well, whenever you select the Tools tab here up at the top, you'll have that Cloud CMA option available for you as well. So you can see that right down here. It should be roughly underneath the floor plans under that Partner Services section. Amazing. Now, this is actually a really great question that Beverly asked, and this is why I wanted to cover into this really quick as well. She asked here, what is the difference between a Cloud CMA and a regular CMA? Now, while a CMA report, while you're going in and creating a CMA report, we know that we have some best expectations to create whenever we're setting up the listing presentation for these prospective sellers. But at the same time, we know the amount of background work, the amount of research, and essentially the amount of kind of structuring and time that it's going to take for us to actually get these reports created. I mean, not only do we have to find our comps, but we have to analyze their data. We have to start comparing pricing. And on top of that, we also want to present that in a friendly way so that the seller gets impressed with our professionalism. And so while we can do that through simply using PowerPoint or Word, or while we can do that through possibly a different CMA program, the best benefit you're going to see here through Cloud CMA is all of that information is going to be done automatically for you. And the main work that you would do on the back end is simply finding your comps. And then on top of that, customizing your report by just reviewing the story that Cloud CMA will support in telling you. And we're going to see that when we go into the account, when we actually go into that creation step. So just note that as well. Now, another thing before we go into this, I just wanted to point out as well, once you do access Cloud CMA through your member benefit page, there was someone that mentioned in here that it did say that they needed to activate their account. It says their email already exists, but there's no way to sign in. Definitely go ahead and reach out to your MLS team, see if there's a confirmation on the account being activated. But otherwise, there is a step, an article that will point out to you before the end of the session on how you can activate your Cloud CMA account through your member benefits. We actually have a pathway that you can do that as well. Now, with that said, once we go ahead and log into Cloud CMA, we're going to access the home page, which is going to look just like this. Now, mind you, my addresses on here are going to look a little different because I don't have access to Georgia MLS, but the format and function is going to be no different. Every step we're going to take through here will be roughly pretty much exactly the same. So in this case, you're mainly accessing Cloud CMA through your MLS to get to this portal that we're in right now. Now, once we're logged into Cloud CMA, the first thing I want to point out to you is first here at the top, all the different reports that you can create here. Not only can you create beautiful listing presentations through the CMA option, but you can also support your buyers with buyer tours. Not only to have a PDF printout available, but you can even have a digital version. So while they're browsing on their phone, you can create a tailored and custom-made buyer tour out for them within just a few simple clicks. You can also create beautiful property reports. We know whenever you're creating open houses or maybe as you're doing showings with customers, you might want to have some of those beautiful details pages that talk about the areas of restaurants that are nearby, the school statistics, any history on the property and the information nearby. And you can absolutely create them easily through that section. And most importantly, having any flyers as you're starting to create marketing material on your listing. You can definitely create beautiful flyers through this flyer option as well. Now, many of you may not see HomeBeat. This is an add-on, but this is simply just an automated way to create CMA reports. It's almost like a drip campaign where you can have CMA reports created and automatically sent to your clients on a certain frequency, meaning you can have it on a monthly, semi-monthly, or biannual or annual basis. Now, in this case, as we're looking through here in this section for recent reports, this is just going to be your history of all the reports you've created. You can see I have quite a different vast amount of them I've made. So you can see they'll be separated by CMAs. They'll be separated by property reports, flyers, and buyer tours. You'll have your client name that you'll mention here up at the top as well. So you can briefly get their information here, as well as having the subject property information right underneath at the bottom. You can even create private notes for yourself. So as you're creating certain reminders for yourself, you can set up certain expectations prior to that listing presentation. Now, not only can you create the reports easily through this platform, but you can always revisit them as well. You'll see down here at the bottom, you'll have the options to view your different formats, such as the PDF and live version, which just to give you a quick sneak peek, as I click on the PDF version, you'll see this only took me 5 minutes to create, as it gives me the full walkthrough of, from start to finish on the story of how I want to present the CMA report. And the same content is also translated into a presentable live version where all of the pages are separated out in these little tiles here. But a little bit more on this in a few minutes here. But not only can you review your reports, you can also review a view count. So as folks are clicking on links that you're sharing out to your customers, you'll actually be able to see not only how many views this report has had, but you can also see when it was last viewed, and most importantly, when this report was last updated. And if you're ever ready to share it out, you can always simply select the 3 little dots here at the top. You'll have all your sharing options on any report you create, from the PDF and live version to even that slideshow view. So here's that third option that you get to see. You'll notice again, we have the PDF document showing that same content. We have the live document, and then of course, you'll also have a slideshow view that you can use as part of your presentation. Now, with that being said, let's actually show you how easy it is to create a CMA report, because although this looks great, we'll want to get into the process first to get ourselves familiarized. So if we actually select the there's actually this little plus sign here at the top that says create new report. You can choose from the different reports you can create from, and in this case, we'll select CMA. When we select the CMA option, you'll see here it's going to take us to the first step of our 4-step process, and you'll see the 4 steps are lined out here for us. Going in from criteria to listings, customize, and then of course publish. Now, in the criteria step, all we're doing is naming our report, identifying the subject property and its criteria, and putting in where we're going to get our comps from. So this would be a very easy process. We can go ahead and just put in the client's name or the family name. Let's just put in Justin Jones in this case. As I put in the client's name, I can also add in any private notes so that I can remind myself regarding certain expectations for this client prior to the presentation. So I'll put in here, motivated seller, looking to move within the next 60 days. And at this point, I can go ahead and enter in the address associated with the property. So in this case, let me actually go ahead and copy one of the addresses here that I can borrow just to show us what that would look like. But as I enter in the address, due to your MLS integration, it will go ahead and identify the best option for that property. You'll see that the option would be here above. In this case, you would have more of a Georgia address. And at that point, it will pull in any public tax data that is found from the MLS and support you with pre-filling any fields it finds. Sometimes it might not have all the fields filled in, but that's okay as well. We can always just fill it in ourselves. There's been updates since that tax data was last updated. We can also ensure that those are updated as well, but just being sure that we have that support already on the back end. Along with that too, we'll also see here as well that we can select the property type. So if you're an agent that also does business with commercial listings or business opportunities, you have different ways that you can tailor your CMA reports. But in this case, we'll select residential. We'll also be able to determine the property subtype. go ahead and choosing the most applicable option, such as this one being single family residence. And then of course, being able to choose a property photo. What this will actually do is once we select a property photo, it will go ahead and include in a photo for your specific listing on the banner view and on a cover page for your PDF document. So we'll actually show you what that looks like momentarily. So let's just select this one property just as an example. This is not the property for this listing, but just gives us a way to pull this information up. And if you don't have a photo for your listing, it's as easy as even pulling up the street view or pulling up its previous listing and taking a screenshot. You can always crop out any watermarks here, so that way it doesn't capture in the photos from that previous listing. At that point as well, you can go ahead and select advanced information, where you can go ahead and include any additional criteria that you want to review as part of your comparisons. Likely I'll want garage spaces compared. I do have taxes, which is great. I do have your bill, I have lot size, this is perfect. Now in this case, once I do have my criteria established, the last thing I need to do in this first step is determine how I want my comps. Now I can do this one of two ways, and they're not they're not even mutually exclusive. I can go ahead and as I have the MLS pulled up on a separate page, I can go ahead and enter in the MLS numbers on the left. Doesn't have to be in a certain order. They can be separated by commas. They can be separated by spaces. Or I can also use this quick and dirty search, where in this case, when I select automatically find listings near the subject property, I can have Cloud CMA support me with finding additional listings in the area that I may not have looked, and it will use the criteria for the subject property to help me find that information. So in this case, as we're reviewing that, I can go ahead and enter in my comps. So I actually pulled in some MLS numbers in this case. See, I have entered in the enter key, kind of separated them out this way. And then I also have my quick and dirty enabled. But let me just show you what it looks like just by pulling in comps alone. Once I'm ready, I just go ahead and select fetch listings, and you'll see here on the second step, once we arrive here to listings, that it will identify all the comps that I've entered in to that section, and they're going to pinpoint them on a map for me to review. So in this case, it's going to go ahead and show me all in color coding, the green meaning active, reds meaning sold, and these yellows meaning pending. You even have your key here on the right to point it out to you, along with your subject property centered here in this purple icon on this beautiful map view, just as a starting base to know already by proximity how far these properties are to your subject property. Now, if you're going the quick and dirty method, just taking a step back for a moment just to show you kind of that other step. If you're doing the quick and dirty method itself, just note that it's going to search for listings by proximity. It doesn't have a certain mileage range that it's going to pull from, but it will pull in from the public tax data and from the MLS information to help you find those comps. So to simplify this out for you, all you're just needing to do is just determining how many listings do you want, how far back with off-market listings you would like to go, and then most importantly, if you have any additional criteria that you want to go ahead and bring the listings that are closest, kind of narrowing it down further with any filters, you can go ahead and do so. So in this case, if for beds, if I don't want less than 2 beds, but I don't want more than 3. Or for baths, same thing, no less than 2, no more than 2. I can really narrow it down further just to be sure that those comparable pieces are noted. And then all I do is just select update listings here to be able to review. Now at that point, you'll see I did not choose comps this time. I went the quick and dirty route, but what Cloud CMA did for me is it did go ahead and pull in all the comps that I asked for. In this case, in my, oh, pardon me there. Looks like my Cloud CMA did not like what I just did, so apologize about that. Let me go ahead and reset that. Perfect. So if I were to go ahead and go back to our criteria section here, you'll see I asked for 20 comps. But if I even brought it back down to 10, I can update listings. Takes me into my second step again, and you'll see now that it's going to support with finding the results, with also even giving me a couple more just to be sure that I have all the comps I'm looking for in the area. Now, regardless if I choose the comps directly from the MLS that I'm choosing directly, or if I go the quick and dirty route, you're going to see all of your results being presented to you down here at the bottom. And most importantly, you'll notice that not only will you get the key of the results here on the right, but as well, you'll have your summary of prices being presented to you on your analysis. So Cloud CMA is already going to run an analysis for you from the low, median, average, and highest form of pricing. So when you get to the pricing stage, you already have a leg up with knowing how to review that information. Now, this is a lot of comps for me, so what I'm going to go ahead and do is take that step back, go ahead and just choose the MLS numbers itself. And if when I do it that way, you'll notice here that when I select update listings, it's going to come back with my comps results. Don't know why it's coming in with that way, but that's completely fine. We'll be able to pick and choose afterwards. So in this case, while I'm going ahead and reviewing my listings underneath, you'll see that I can sort my listings in various different ways. So in this listing section, you can go ahead and review it based off of status, square footage, sold price. I usually like status so I can keep everything organized, and I can just simply choose in the order that I want them presented. Now, in this case, you'll see that I also have an include all or exclude all option. That way I can kind of clean up my analysis based on what's coming in. But all this means is when anything's excluded, you'll have all these lines grayed out. So these aren't actually going to be included in the report. But if you do want one included or you want to select a set view, you can review the line item for that listing. You can select the little checkbox on the right, and you'll see now that it will be included as part of your report, and it starts to run that analysis automatically. So this is where I can go ahead. If I wanted to review, I can click on the checkbox, and if I want to get additional details on that listing, then I can go ahead and select notes and adjustments to actually review that property information. And this is where I can determine, you know what, this might not be a comp that I want to choose. This doesn't represent, what's best comparable to this listing, or the other way around. You know what, this does make sense as a great comp. I want this included. So it just gives you some of that additional detail. You can see the statuses, its MLS number here on the right. You can see the remarks from that listing as well as the note section underneath that you can make so that it presents on your report. You can even see additional features. What's great too is if a virtual tour is public on the MLS and it all is linked out, you can even view the virtual tour of that specific listing simply by selecting the view button. And of course, you'll even see right underneath there is an adjustment section because sometimes the prices, especially when it's an active status, might need to be adjusted because properties do get changes done, right? If the seller just recently updated the kitchen while they're in the sales process, or they added in a pool, or they added in a fence, whatever those specific reasons would be, let's just say a new pool, I can type in new pool, add a new value that's associated with that new pool. And when I select save, it's going to make an adjustment on that price. You can even see here, right? It's going to have the original price still showing, but it also makes your adjustment known because of whatever changes that that seller made. So in this case, as we're going ahead and reviewing our comps, we just need to go ahead and review each line item. This might take a little bit more time depending if you've already selected your comps prior or if you're going the quick and dirty route. But as you're reviewing your comps, you can review your photos, review all the details, select the checkboxes so that they were included, and then just select the applicable ones so that they fit the needs of your listings. So I did see a question here as well, one that came in, what showed, let's see, for sold, how far back can you go? Just know for off-market listings, you can go as far back as up to 3 years. Obviously, not always going to be the case. Depends on the unique features of the property and if you might have to go far back in order to pull comps with similar data. But you do have up to 3 years to pull in off-market listing data. But usually probably within the 6 months, 1 year, probably within that 6-month range, given our current market on a real estate listing would probably be the most like it makes the most sense in this case. But as we're reviewing through this, we'll simply go ahead and choose our comps. Going to go ahead and just choose a few here so we can move forward in our training. But as I choose them, you'll notice that on the right, Cloud CMA is running some numbers for me. It's going to go ahead and start running in all of the summary of the listings, the summary of the prices. And one of my favorite things as well is that as I go ahead and scroll up here to the top where this purple bar is, if I actually select the net sheet and notes, you'll see Cloud CMA is also supporting me with setting up the pricing. Now, I don't have to use this price guide that's being provided, but it does give me some great statistics, or it gives me some great comparable information, because it's going to separate out the pricing from your comps based off their status. It will calculate the low, median, average, and high prices. It will also run figures for the average price per square footage, and even offer you a suggested set range based on its status alone. So this might already be helpful for you to determine how you're going to set your pricing. And then whenever you're ready to set your price, you can simply enter that figure here up at the top. So if I were to go ahead and just put in, 410,000 in this case, I can go ahead and do so. And as I do, I already have that information included, and it starts to translate into the rest of my report. And honestly, if I want to keep the range, I can just simply click on it, and it's going to appear here on this range bar here. So that way I have it set as a range, so that it shows that I'm a little bit more kind of open to narrowing down that price with the seller when we're discussing. What's also great here too is that you have a net sheet section. So if you have any expenses that is likely to incur during the transaction and you want to set your seller up with that, you can absolutely include it. So if I were to include here a mortgage payoff, I could put in what their actual mortgage payoff would be just to estimate that out, select the save, and now we already know what the seller would net. So that I can already add in any of those other expenses like title fees, in this case as well, let's say it's also, commission, whatever the case may be. As you're adding in that information, you'll see what the results would be right at the bottom, and this would actually be translated into a page for your seller to review. Now, once we've chosen our comps and we're ready to go, we're going to go into that third step, which is customize. In the customize step, at this point, your analysis is made, you have your comps, you have your details. So what we're doing here is just telling our story. Cloud CMA is going to make 3 reports out of this for us. It's going to use the same information, but just in different ways that it can be presented. And so what we're really doing here is just simply structuring out what information we want included. So on the left side here, you'll see that this section for additional content will be available. And essentially what this means is any pages that you don't have on the right side will be available for you to review here on your own view basis. And on the right, you'll see that you'll have some editing tools available for you, but most importantly, you'll have all your pages viewable for you here, which is simply clicking on the title of them. They're organized row by row, and you'll see by just simply clicking on the title, when a little eyeball appears, you'll be able to preview what that page actually looks like. They're all pre-built for you. They're all created to be structured in for a listing presentation. And so what's nice about this is as you're reviewing your pages, if you're wanting to change the colors or themes, you can choose a different theme if you'd like, simply by going to themes and choosing from the applicable options, especially if you have a certain set theme that's organized for your book of business. You also have a layout section here too, and this is about your comps. So if you're going on the PDF version and you want your comps to be presented in a certain way, such as each listing presented on a single page based off of either a photo with a map or a photo two photos or a photo with max data, or if you have a lot of comps, then you can go ahead and choose these side-by-side column comparisons. So it has multiple listings on one page and it has all the data side by side to compare it to. So just a great example, if I choose a 3-column comparison on my layout, and then I go to where it says listings and it says details here, I can actually see what that looks like because the Cloud CMA is already following along with that. We'll actually see that it has 3 listings compared here. It's going to compare all their data side by side, so it's an easy to read format for my seller to see. Now, on top of that too, I also have templates, and honestly, templates are going to be your best friend. Templates here are where you can choose to create quick CMAs, not only just through the pre-built templates that Cloud CMA has created for you, but as you start structuring out scenarios. The more you use Cloud CMA, the more that you'll want to really streamline the way you're building your CMA reports. So as you're creating CMA reports for new scenarios, like a first-time home seller, maybe you're making a buyer's CMA, maybe you're just kind of tackling on any additional content and you want to make custom templates for that, you simply go ahead and select Save as Template based off of whatever edits you make. And then anytime in the future when you're making your next CMA report, you'll have that structure for you. So we're going to remind ourselves of that right when we're kind of leaving this section here. But let's just say I'm working with a seller and they are, they are an investor. They already have done a CMA before. They just want the comp data and they don't want any of that guidance tools. I can select comp data or comps only in this case. And you'll see that on the bottom, it's going to simplify all those pages that Cloud CMA would have chosen to only include the comp data. And so I can actually click and review how this would be structured, see all of the information that's being presented. You can see it's listing all my comps in a very structured way, organizing them off of status and having them on a map view. And you'll already see that it's already running comparable property statistics, running a full analysis with reports from the lowest to high prices from your active, pending, and solds. So this is a really great section here to just take a look at what Cloud CMA is even making for you. It also even runs a sold property analysis for you just to show you the averages from the sold pricing and how many average days on market. And since my seller is looking to sell his home in the next 60 days, this is a good sign for us, given the comps we found in the area. And you'll even see here from suggested list price, here's that range that I included. It's all set up on a beautiful themed report. It even shows the comparables by average based on the status, just to show where our range is at in comparison to the other comps that we've chosen in the area. And if I want to add additional content, I can simply go into my standard folder here. There's some buckets that I can go and dive into where I can add in some additional information. And you'll notice that it's already structured in a flow that you can use to present your listing presentation. You'll see it starts off with an introduction. So you have lots of introductory content. You can go into setup. You can go into listings and just simply go in and find additional information such as more photos to add into your listings, or you can show in the adjustments that you may have made for one of those listings, as well as running some analysis tools. You'll see that seller's net sheet is included here. And so this essentially just means that it's going to show off of that breakdown of what we would likely incur on expenses for that seller, so that they know what their net proceeds would be by the end of that transaction. Now, Alan asked a good question here. Is everything automatically saved all the time? Now, any custom pages you include here, and we're going to talk about custom pages in a moment as well, will automatically be saved here once you add them in. But you definitely want to be sure that if you're structuring any custom content and you want to create it as a template, you need to go into your template section and save it as a template and make a name for it. So in this case, let's say investor CMA scenario. If I name it this way and I select save, no matter what, anytime I go into a new CMA report, I'd simply just go into my template section. I can go to my custom options and I can access any of the custom templates I've made for those CMAs for me to access afterwards. And folks, no worries, we will have, this session is recorded, so we will have this session sent out to you within about 48 hours, just for everyone to be aware. Now, when it comes to the case of determining our pages, right? Again, I always recommend follow the path of the story. You'll see that it already has a flow set up for you. So you go into your introduction, you set up the conversation, you go into the listings you found, you analyze the pricing from those listings, and you have lots of pages to support you here, including things like average price per square footage, just lots of great content, and all of this just came from your comps. And on top of that, you'll also see there's a lot of closing documentation, especially if you have a first-time seller. All this content's all in here, so it goes into things like commission distribution, which this is just some great content that goes into information that your seller is likely not aware of, right? And how that commission is broken out. So you won't encounter, that way you can kind of have a rebuttal to any objections perhaps regarding any commission discussion. This setting up expectations for staging. So when we have open house time and visits, we know what to expect. Discussing features that sell. Just all great documentation to set you up for success, to show your customer that you know real estate and you're going to be the best expert to support them. There's also great guidance tools that you can include in case they need additional support. And most importantly, one thing I love the most is that you have a testimonial section. Now, in your account settings near the end of our session, I'll point this out to you, but you can integrate your testimonial hubs. So if you have testimonials on Zillow, Real Satisfied, Rated Agent, Reach 150, or Testimonial Tree, you can integrate those into your Cloud CMA reports. So once you do, Cloud CMA will go ahead and pull in your most up-to-date feed of testimonials, and it will create that themed and beautiful page for you. So you don't have to worry about copying and pasting anything. You don't have to worry about picking and choosing. It's all going to be put in there for you. And if you need to make adjustments to those testimonials, you just do them through that hub, and they will go ahead and be updated through Cloud CMA. I'm going to show you an example of that when we get to account settings. And then lastly, one great feature, one thing I love about Cloud CMA is the customizability. We have great content that it provides to us, but we know that we are the experts in the real estate game as well. So we can actually create some custom themed pages within Cloud CMA if we're looking to create any beautiful content. But on top of that, we can also upload PDF documents as well. So in this case, here's an example of that testimonial hub that I mentioned. So if I'm pulling it from Zillow, would be an example as to what my testimonials would look like from Zillow and how Cloud CMA would create it in alignment with the theme that I had set. Now, in this case, as we go ahead and review our documentation, no, we have additional training covering this specific element. So if you're looking to kind of review more into the page content, I'll show you that near the end. But just to move us forward into our process here, once I am gone through all the steps, once I've identified the property and found my comps, once I've solidified which comps I'm using and made any necessary adjustments, and once I've organized the structure of my CMA report from start to finish and how I want it to look, I simply go ahead and select publish, which I can do through the publish report, and I can also do it here at the bottom of the page as well. Now, Alan asked here, how long will my CMA be saved in the MLS? It will be saved as long as you have that report, because of course you'll have that PDF version that's printable, you'll have the live version. All those statuses will update automatically on the live version, so you might have to refresh it on that PDF version. But one thing to note as well, as long as you have your benefit available, you should still be able to access Cloud CMA, and your reporting should all still be there too. So no worries about that. Now, in this case, you'll notice that once I hit publish, now Cloud CMA has let me know that, hey, your CMA is ready for Justin Jones. Here's the address. You have your PDF version ready. You have your live version ready. And as we can see, if I were to take a look at the PDF version, look how beautiful that is. I didn't have to adjust any formatting. All this was done just through Cloud CMA directly. It has the identification of the CMA, has the client's address on here, it has their photo, and it has their name and that big, beautiful blue letters there that I can point out to them. And most importantly, it also has my branding. So it includes my contact information as well. It includes my name, where my location is from. I can include a letter for them, and you'll notice at the bottom of every page of the PDF report, my contact information is available. So that way, even if they don't, even if they do reach this contact me page, or if they're sifting through any content here within the report, they're going to have my contact methods front and center for them. Now, in this case, and actually, you know what? Deborah asked a great question. I want to come back to that for just a moment. In the customize step, if you want to eliminate some of the content or you want something super simple, aside from the templates that you can use, just note you can hover your mouse over any of these pages and you can just simply delete the custom page itself. That won't delete it forever. It's just storing it back here in your standard folder for future use. But you can simply go ahead and remove content just by clicking on that little minus icon, and you can reorder them by just clicking and dragging. So whenever you actually are ready to publish and you've made changes, this is where you go ahead and select template and you save that as a template. So that way you don't have to do that work again for the next time you create your CMA report. Now, with that said, once you do publish it, you can see the results of your content available below. We saw what the PDF version looked like, but now let's take a quick look at the live version. The live version is my favorite because this is a great presentation tool that you can use. And on top of that, it's a link. It's a web-based link. So you can actually share this to your customer as well so that you can have them included on it too. Now, the way to review this report, you'll see here that once you do set up your account settings, which we'll cover near the end, you'll have your branding here up at the top for your company. You'll have your name up here at the top as well. And if you click on your photo, you'll have your contact information available as well. You're going to see a map backdrop here of where the property is located. And you'll even see again that cover photo and the property address and customer name. Now, what's the difference between this and the PDF report? This is definitely a little bit more high level, but the content that's included in here is the same as the PDF report. It's just presented in a different way for you. So as we're reviewing the PDF version, let's say we're reviewing the what is a CMA document. It's going to show that same document with them, and you can go ahead and review it in various different ways by just clicking on that tile, and you can even go to the next content by just using these arrow keys from left to right. But if you're the type of presenter that likes to jump back and forth between different pages, I can go ahead and also select the menu here up at the top, and all those tiles we saw underneath are presented here as well. So I can just simply jump into the next content that I want to review, such as average pricing. You can see all that detail, all the charts that are beautifully presented to us all from within this page. Now, if you need to customize this to align this more with your PDF version, it will structure in the most information it can include, but you can also select customize down underneath, and you'll see that there's other content that is hidden that you can include as part of your report. So if you're using your live version and you want to include your Google reviews that you just added as a custom page, you can simply select that eyeball icon for that to be included, select done, and if I go to my home page here, you'll see that my Google Reviews testimonial section will be available for me to pull up and say, hey, come here and see the most satisfied customers from my Google reviews. Now, with that said, let's go ahead and just take a quick look into our comps report for just a moment. Now, if you ever need to navigate home, you have your home button here. You can go through any of these tiles here the same way by just going through this user menu. And then when we go into the comps report, now it's time to see the differences between that PDF and live version. Well, let's take a look at the PDF for example here. While the PDF version is going to show me, all the comp details here, right? It's going to show a nice side-by-side comparison of all the comps. The live version is going to offer a more interactive version of this. So in this case, you'll see you do have a side-by-side column comparison version, but you have 3 other formats that you can present as well. But one thing I love about this compare view, and in fact with all of our views here, is that not only will you have the subject property on the left, but you're going to see all of the comps on the right, and they're going to compare those comps to the subject property. So this already gives you some great visuals, but it will also tell you and your seller, how these compare to the subject property itself. Like, I probably made a mistake by adding Beverly Street on here, so I can simply just review the details here. It looks like its square footage is half the square footage of my Flamingo Court property. It says a smaller lot size, smaller acreage. So if I want to simply review it, maybe remove it as a comp, I could just simply click anywhere on this column. I can review all the details here, and you know what? If I want to remove it, there's a little slider here at the top that says include comp. You can turn that off, and now it's not included in your report. We narrowed it down even further. And on top of that, your analysis updates too. So if you need to make any adjustments on your suggested list price range, you can do that. But you can see here, you can review all the details side by side with your customer. You also have a little marker icon on all your pages in your live view so that you can really highlight certain elements of information. So like acreage, if we want to point that out to our seller, acreage is mostly and relatively similar here. We can see how they compare across each other. Is square footage percentage. I can go ahead and mark anything that I need to on this page, and it will slowly disappear over time. If there's specific content that you want to compare across your specific columns, you can always select edit property details, and you'll see that all of this information is updatable. Meaning if your seller is looking at this and they say, you know what, I think you have the baths off. I actually just added a half bath recently. You can go ahead and update that, put in that half bath, and when you select update, it's going to go ahead and update that comparison data. And that same goes as well if you needed to remove certain content. Like in this case, if I want to remove acres because that's not important to my customer, I can remove it. And I can even add additional comparison information as well, simply by just going into the add comparison row. But you'll see it simplifies things out, and you can simply choose which data that you want presented on your compare view. But most importantly, just going back into selecting anywhere on this comp view, whenever I select any of the comps, including the picture, now I'm going to have this full listing sheet available. It's going to show where the property is located. It's going to show all the photos from that listing. And we'll even see as well below, we'll get a view of all of the description information, how it compares as well to the subject property, even though we're in the specific listing view, as well as being able to review any additional details and even schools that are nearby to that property. You'll get the status and financial portions as well on the right. So in this case, we'll see here that it says active. It currently says that it's been 4 days on the market currently. And in this instance, as we're reviewing this information, we can also review in, when the original list price was, or list date was set for, how many beds, baths, and square footage it was listed for. And then of course, we can also review what that original list price and if there has been any changes from that listing. Of course, if there's been any changes in its history, you will also see a history section appear here underneath as well. Now, in this instance, as we go ahead and review that specific comp, if we, again, decide that we need to remove it, we have that option here to remove that as part of our analysis. But we also have 3 different views that we can review these listings as well. So again, not only do we have the side-by-side comparison view, but we also have a map view that we can present. The map view is great because most commonly, especially if you're presenting this on an iPad or a tablet, you can go ahead and see where all these comps are located in the correspondence to the subject property. And you can just use your little marker icon here to draw a nice little circle around the comps in the area and how it relates to that subject property. And on top of that too, you'll see that all of these little drop-down icons are clickable. And when you do click on them, it will pull up that listing information for you, where you can again compare it to the subject property here with these items here on the right. And you can even click anywhere on this column again to pull up that listing data. So here's another great example. We see that there's been some pricing changes here for this listing, as well as we'll be able to see any additional history that corresponds with it. Now, in this instance as well, aside from being able to review your comps, you'll see that that include comp button is here as well. So if you need to remove it, it will remove that from your analysis, but you can again always add that back in. And my favorite thing as well, let's say you're reviewing your comps here on this map view with your customer, and they say, you know what, Lucas, there are some properties down here in this area that I don't see as part of the review. Can you explain why that is, or can we review that together to see what that looks like? I can go ahead and click on the zoom in to see more listings. And Cloud CMA will go ahead and pull in all the other listings in the area pulled in from the MLS so that I can actually review where those listings are. So in this case, I have that other listing that's next door. This is what my client was pointing out. I can just click on it. And when I do, it will pull up that column view again for that customer. I can go ahead and review that information, pull up the listing details, see how it compares to the subject property. And if I say, you know what, Mr. Jones, this makes a lot of sense, let's add this in, I could just simply include it as a comp and my analysis will be updated. Now, folks, just as a reminder, because there's a lot of questions coming in regarding recordings, just note that you will receive a recording after the session has concluded. We're automatically going to send that out to you once the session has ended. So no worries, this session's definitely recorded for you, and we'll have that issued out once we get through the conclusion. We got you guys covered. Now, with that said, aside from being able to view on this map view, the last view we also have is the stats view, especially for our numbers-based customers, right? Those who want to get into the numbers, they want to see how it compares across each other. And what's great about this is as we're reviewing the details here, as we're reviewing, the low, high, average, median price, average price per square footage, and even average days on market, we can organize these based off of the statuses that are being presented here at the top. So if I want to narrow it down to review only the active pricing, I can only look at actives. If I see pendings, I can see pendings. If I see closed, I can pull out closed. So this just gives me some great analysis as to where our current market is and compared to how homes had recently sold, just kind of getting in that data breakdown as I need it. On top of that as well, I can also go ahead and review the data underneath. You'll see all of my listings presented in this list view. If I want to pull up their details, I can simply click on them to pull up that listing sheet again, review that detailed information, and even again, removing things as comps as they see fit. But most importantly as well, I also have that little marker icon. So if I need to call out kind of some similarities with pricing, I can point that out here. Or if I want to point out kind of the variations in days on market based off these statuses, kind of showing off trends, anything can be showed off here just by pulling out the comps view. And then lastly, if you want to see how active the analysis is running on your pricing, watch what happens when I go ahead and start removing all my comps, or as the comps are starting to be narrowed down. You'll see that as I start adding and removing comps, your analysis is automatically running for you. So you're going to always have the most accurate data that's based off of the true comp pricing that you're pulling in. Now, once that is said, once you've had a chance to review your comps, of course, you have various different pages that you can present in your report. Usually, we'll go in and recommend to go into the analysis section where you can go in and talk about the pricing model, how the pricing is looking for actives, how they are for pendings, how they are for close. And again, as you're going through these reports, you can always click on those listings to pull up that listing information in case your customer has questions. Now, I know you guys have a lot of questions coming in, so no worries. We're definitely going to take the time to answer them as well. But let me ask you guys one question. How many of you have encountered objections on your listing presentations, specifically as it's tied to Zillow? I want to show you off a cool page here where you present your pricing, they come back at you and they say, listen, this is great pricing, but Zillow has come back and they said, that it's about $20,000 more based off of that Z estimate. Has anyone encountered that issue? Feel free to put that in our question box. I'm just curious to see how many of us have. Oh, I'm getting some yeses. Absolutely. So let me show you something awesome. This is also included in your PDF report, but you have a page titled Online Valuations. And what is this? Online Valuations here is going to offer you the ability to compare your comps MLS pricing in comparison to the Z estimate pricing. And what it will actually do here is it will run off of variance here for you and actually let you know which ones had the highest difference and already plaster that here up at the top. So this is just a great opportunity to point out to your seller, you know what, seller, I understand, online valuation tools like Z estimates from Zillow are a great idea to give you a kind of a basis as to where you would be at with pricing. But just want to show you this page here really quick with just showing you how off the Z estimates can be in relation to the true pricing on the MLS. So in this question, or in this section here, you'll see that it will go ahead and point out the MLS list price or the sold price and compare it to the Z estimate itself. And if your customer doesn't believe you, you can even click on the price of the Z estimate. It's going to take you to Zillow right away so that you can point that out for them. But on top of that too, again, it's going to plaster in the highest value here at the top so that you can go ahead and say, listen, based off of our analysis here on the comps for your home, Zillow's been off by up to 4.7%, which is equated to up to $20,000 in value. So just a great example just to show them how off that analysis can be through the support of using this online valuations page. There is other content out there that we have available with just that gives some guidance regarding how customers should review online valuations, but this is an awesome feature that you can have to just show them numbers to say, listen, I know you said that your home is worth more on Zillow, but let me show you how Zillow said the home has been worth for all of the comps and what they've actually sold for. And this is where we kind of have to be strategic together, right? So just another great way for you to review. Now, Lastly, I just want to discuss sharing options with you. There is so much content that you can review in these live reports. So if there's any homework assignment, I recommend just make a test CMA and start diving right in to take a look and seeing what information is available. The structure will be the same, but the data will be different based off the comps you choose. This is just a really awesome way for you to review, what is going to be created. So whenever you're ready to share these reports out and they're created, you can simply go ahead and email the report directly from Cloud CMA, just simply entering your client's email. You can go ahead and choose your subject line. You can add in what you want in the body of the email and choose what information you want sent to your customer. You can choose to only have the PDF version. You can choose to have the live version included, maybe have all three, the slideshow, PDF, and live report. And you can even review the preview as to what they would see whenever they actually receive that email. So it's going to have that same tile format that you have in the Cloud CMA, as well as having your branding here at the bottom for you to review. Now, along with that too, you can also simply click on these links. The links are accessible here as well. So if you want to just copy that link, you can share it out to your customer. Same goes with your live link. You simply copy that out and send it. And as you make updates on your live version, it would reflect it on the same link to your customer. So you don't need to have to reshare it. You could just have them reopen the link, refresh their page, and they can see whatever changes you have made. Now, folks, the last thing I want to point out to you as well is your account settings. So in your account settings here, you simply go to your photo or your little blank default profile circle here up at the top, and you're going to go to the account settings menu. If you want to set yourself up for success in Cloud CMA, what I'd recommend is going through each of these tabs here on the left to properly set up your account. So for example, in your profile tab, this is where you can include your headshot. Your headshot here will translate into your live report, as we can see, and it will also translate into your PDF report as well. So it's always recommended to have a professional headshot included. You can also be sure to have your information included below, and most importantly, to have your company logo uploaded by simply clicking on the gray bar to have that upload completed. When you upload your company logo, it's going to translate that into your reports. So you can see here on my live report, there it is. On my PDF report, if I go to my introduction step, you can see here that my logo is appearing. And then Darlene asked, can these reports be printed? Yes, absolutely. So you can see from this PDF view, it is printable. So you can send it as a link due to the file size. Sometimes these reports can be pretty long. It might be too big to send via email, but you or your customer can print them at any time. Now, once you do add your information, just be sure to select Save Profile for that information to render and translate into your reports. And most importantly as well, the section that's titled Contact Info, you'll want to have your contact information embedded in here. You can easily do that by choosing your contact method. You can choose whatever option that works best for you and entering in what that value would be. And then once you do, you just simply select Add for it to appear on your contact list. If you have any old data, you can select the trash can icon to remove it. But what this will do is once you add this contact information in, again, it's going to appear on the top right when someone clicks on your headshot. You'll see here that box to get your contact information. And on your PDF report, you're going to see it down here at the bottom. Your contact information will appear at the bottom of every single page. It's like having your business card stamped on the bottom so that your customer knows how to reach you if they have any questions while they're on that specific page. MLS credentials, of course, since you're integrated with your MLS, you'll be able to access that information. So just be sure to have, if you have like any updates on your password or any MLS integration updates, that you do update your password as well here in the MLS credentials section. But this is the area where I really want to emphasize the most. If you're one who has really beautiful customized content or you're very creative and you want to create that, you can do that here. You simply go ahead to where it says add a new custom page. And if you're wanting to create any page, let's say I want to create, and I'm going to delete one of these just so I can make a new one here. But let's just say I want to make a next steps document. We've presented everything. Now let's talk about next steps and how we'll move forward. I can select the add button here, and you'll see I have a full text box with formatting controls here on the left, as well as any bulleting, numbering on center. And I have media functions that I can include here on the right. So I can add any links to any of my texts. I can add in photos simply by choosing the little box here. And I can even upload videos or add videos simply by just adding in that source link. So if I have YouTube, if I have Vidyard, Wistia, and I want to include like a drone marketing video, want to include kind of a cover video, whatever the case is, I can include that. And as I make changes here, so I'll type in here are our next steps. As I update the formatting, centering it, doing any of those changes, when I select save, you'll see that when I go down, it will be available down here in my custom pages list section. And if I click on the eyeball icon, it's going to match the theme for what I've chosen for my CMA. Lastly, you also have the ability to upload custom PDF pages. So if you have your own PDF documents you want included, maybe an example of previous marketing campaigns you've ran, or you have kind of previous examples of stagings you worked in the past, whatever the case may be, you can upload your content simply by going down to the bottom here and selecting Upload PDF. When you do, it will be previewable here where you can simply just go in and click on the document to make sure that everything is there. And if it is, you'll see that available in your CMA options whenever you select custom pages. And then lastly, just to point out the integration section. So if you're utilizing any of our transaction management systems, so in this case, I believe with Georgia MLS, you guys have Transaction Desk. So if you want to integrate your Transaction Desk with Cloud CMA, you simply follow the prompts here to set up that integration, where you can create a transaction from Cloud CMA and of course create CMA reports from your transaction management system. And on top of that too, you'll see that there's other concepts that you can take advantage of as well. Being able to take advantage of the Realtor.com listing toolkit. If you do you have to go through Realtor.com to set that up, but it's just another great way to create CMA components through there. But it's also here where I pointed out to you as well. If you want to integrate your testimonial hubs, you'll see all of your options down here at the bottom. You simply choose the applicable real estate hub or testimonial hub. You could choose more than one, but once you add those in, it's by typing your credentials and selecting add, they will automatically be fed in as a customizable page. So just some great examples as to how you can fully take advantage of these integrations. Now, folks, it is hard to cover Cloud CMA all in 1 hour because just the CMA component alone we know can take us a little bit longer. So I do want to be able to offer you some additional resources for you. So at any time while you're in your Cloud CMA account, if you're looking for some quick access guides or some videos, you can always click on your photo here up at the top and you'll see here that there's a learning resources section. There's various quick hit videos, most under 2 minutes, that are going to walk you through all of the functions within Cloud CMA. They go through it at a much higher or a much better level than I do, but it's just another great component that you can take advantage of. Now, if I'm not aware as to which platform your MLS is based on, but if your MLS is using either Paragon, Repatoni, Matrix, or Flex MLS, there's some great ways to show you how to create a CMA through those platforms, just to give you an idea as to how you can kind of leverage that through your MLS benefit. But again, there's lots of other great content here, such as how to create your buyer tour, how to create the property reports, even knowing that you also will have that landing page available that you can promote out there to automatically have CMAs created for any folks who complete your landing page. Now, aside from the learning content that you have here through our learning resources, there's also a support center. And when you select our support center, there's lots of great tutorial articles, how-to articles on how to review or kind of access your Cloud CMA content. And note that if you need to get in contact with our support team, they are available for you. You can either simply fill out this form to send out a request, or you can also go to the chat feature here to get in contact with our support team that way as well. And then lastly, I just want to also point out that you do have access to free training. If you actually go to lwolf.com/services/training. So again, lwolf.com/services/training. Through this webpage here, you can select online training and you can choose to access training for any of the products that we offer from Lone Wolf. So if you have any of these other products, you can sign up for them as well. But if we're looking for Cloud CMA training, we'll simply select Cloud Agent Suite. And then we'll go down to all of the different classes we have available. We have various ones like this session here that we're currently kind of in right now, the how to create a CMA. But as well, we also have the lead generation components if you're curious about HomeBeat or the landing pages. We also have a pages that help you win, where we go into a scenario regarding how to structure a CMA for a first-time seller, but also looking into all the content that's included in your custom page or in your pre-built pages. And as well, we also have a class for the new live buyer tour that has been released. So there is lots of great content that we can take advantage of. So note that you can definitely access this training. It's free for you. You just simply go ahead and choose which date works best. And if you can't attend, you still will receive a recording to your registered email. Now, with that said, to summarize what we talked about in this training today, because that was a lot of information. Of course, we got a chance to show how to access Cloud CMA. We talked about the home page and how to navigate through that. We were able to create a CMA report and show you the different reports that were available, such as the live and the comps view, and also being able to see the PDF report as well. And then lastly, we also were able to see the account settings and kind of access some helpful resources. So to be able to support you guys, I'll pull up some questions here that were asked just to see if there's any that I can answer right away. But also note that even though, since there's a lot of questions that came in, if your question was not answered, don't fret, as we'll definitely answer those questions as a follow-up after the session is completed. We'll be reviewing a report of any questions that came in and the registered emails tied to them so that we can be sure that your questions are answered. So just a couple questions here that I'm looking through. Roxanne did ask here, what is the recommended number of comps to include? Roxanne, that's a great question. I believe that would just be based off of kind of the scenario you're working with. If you're seeing a lot of very similar comps, like comps that have similar criteria to your subject property, you may just want to include them in to have more data to run that analysis down. However, if you see that there's not as much comparable information, maybe you have you're in a more rural area instead of a more kind of populated area, then it might differ from that. So it all just depends on kind of what criteria you're comparing it against, how you're comparing the pricing along with that, and kind of what area you're also in as well. So I hope that answers your question there. Now, Sheila also asked here, how do you determine the adjustment price? What do you recommend? Now, Sheila, it's a great question. And, adjustments are just kind of best guesses at this point too, right? So we can go based off of some sellers' disclosures that have appeared in from that listing. We could contact the seller's agent, or if we are the seller's agent, we may know. But just kind of giving a best guess of like, if someone did install a pool or they did put in a fence while the home is still being listed and we got that confirmation, then we're definitely going to want to make an adjustment. And so just kind of verifying what that value adjustment would be. Sometimes there was a price reduction announced, but it didn't translate into your report. So you can also now put in that price reduction. But again, it's just a flexible item. You don't always have to make adjustments on the price, but if you do, it can definitely be available and customizable for you to do that. Now, I do see here, there's another question. How do I import Zillow testimonials from Robin? So Robin, just remember here that you can do that simply by going to your account settings. Where it says integrations, you're going to see your testimonial hub here where it says Zillow. You're going to put in your screen name or email and you select add to set up that connection. So, and then another great question here from Kelly. What is the live version? What is the consumer side? So again, the live version is this version of the CMA report. It will be the same as the consumer side, as the only difference we're going to see here is that the customer's version won't have those editing functions. But in this case, what we will see here is that they can go into all of the different pages, they can review things, they can draw things out as well in case they're ever curious. Now, with that said, folks, that is, I know we're kind of past our time, so I want to be respectful of all of your times as well. If you do need any additional support, I do recommend getting in contact with your MLS in case there's any questions there. But on top of that as well, I do want to leave this off for you too. Let me go ahead and pull this up for you as well. Bear with me one moment. Okay. Just being sure to contact support for Cloud CMA. You will have this contact method for mlss/support@lwolf.com. That's the contact method you would want. Otherwise, again, in this section here in your support page, you do have our support team contact and as well the little chat feature for you to get in contact with them. Here, Erica just asked here, can you just do a quick walkthrough on how to add Google reviews? Erica, we don't have the Google reviews integration set up, so my recommendation here is just to create a custom page. You can do one of two things, right? You can create a Google reviews title, which you saw I did. You go to the edit function, and you can either do a copy and paste format, or if you have a link to route to your Google reviews, you would just simply go ahead and type out, click here to see our most satisfied customers via Google reviews. Maybe you can put in a photo or a screenshot of them. And then at that point, you would just put in the link to your Google reviews by just highlighting the text and then putting in the link to your Google reviews. What will happen and what this actually will do is in your live report here, whenever someone clicks on your Google reviews, they can actually click on that link and it would take them to that site that you would link them out to for the Google reviews. Just another way that you can do that workaround. But with that said, I do want to still leave some last minute notes here for you guys. So if you do need any support at any time, just know that your numbers are available for you as well. You can always contact our customer care team at the number on the left. You can always also contact our training team on the right if you have any training related questions, especially to learning how to sign up for any of our public sessions. With that being said, folks, I do want to thank you so much for your time and joining in on this training today. There will be a survey that appears at the end of the session. If you don't mind completing that, letting us know how your experience was with this training. As any feedback we receive also helps us further evolve these sessions. So we'd love to hear from you. But other than that, thank you so much, folks, for joining in. You will receive that recording within about 48 hours to your registered email, so just keep on the lookout for that. But otherwise, I really appreciate you guys joining in. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I hope you all, of course, have a great rest of your day. Thank you very much, and take care.